Hi everybody, welcome to this week's My Weekly Reach Fix. I hope you're all preparing for Passover, hope all the cleaning is going well, and I just want to wish you in advance a happy Pesach, a Zisen Pesach, a happy Passover to you and your entire family. Just want to talk to you a little bit about Passover. Very good. So, I want to talk to you a little about the Seder, and we all sitting down to the Seder, and there's important ideas to always keep in mind throughout the Seder, what the Seder is all about, and certainly in two things. The matzah that we eat, as we have a commandment to eat matzah for 7 days, and also the other important theme of the night of the Higadata Levincha, you shall relate over to your children. Very important theme of Pesach. And I'd like to start out with a story that actually happened with me personally. I was traveling once with my father on a plane, and being dressed as I am, as you see me right now, and I got a tap on my shoulder from the guy behind me. Yes? Oh, excuse me, sir, are you Jewish? I said, how did you know? So he started to ask me questions about Judaism and about life in general. And at the end, I asked him, why don't you ask your spiritual leader these questions? He was not of the Jewish faith. So I asked him, why don't you ask your spiritual leader these questions? And he said that he was told that if he asked these questions, that's the work of Satan. And Satan doesn't want him to ask. Satan just wants him to be a non-believer. And I said to him, that's unfortunate, because in Judaism, it's the exact opposite. In Judaism, we can only be Jewish if he asks questions. We don't really take anything for granted. There's a rhyme and reason for everything, and we have to learn and we have to understand, which therefore brings us to Pesach. Pesach, the theme of the night is, and you shall relate over to your children everything that had happened, and in order for the future generations to know that Hashem is the one that took us out of Egypt. As you may know, the Seder of the night of Passover starts with Kaddish, everybody makes Kiddush, and then Urchatz, in which we wash our hands without a blessing, and then comes Karpas, in which we take a potato or some other leafy vegetable and we dip it into salt water. And in case any of you were wondering why we do this, the reason is one reason and one reason only, and that is that the children, myself included, when I was a child, should ask our parents, why is this night different than all other nights? So we do things differently in order that the child should say, hey, usually on a regular Friday night or regular holiday, we make Kiddush, we go wash right away, and we make a blessing, and we eat challah, or we eat whatever we may eat. But tonight, we're making Kiddush, we wash without a bracha, and then we're dipping this karpas into salt water. And then we relate, and then we eat the matzah. Mommy, Daddy, what's going on over here? And the answer is that we're telling him that this is exactly what this night is all about. A relationship between father and son from generation to generation to generation. You're only sitting by your Passover Seder because your great-great-great-great-grandfathers sat at their Passover Seder, because their great-great-grandfathers sat at their Passover Seder, all relating over what had happened to our forefathers back in Egypt. And that is the point of Pesach, of asking questions, receiving the traditions from them, and going on from there. That way, you and I will be able to relate to our children, and their children will be able to hear from them. So it is very important to have this tradition of asking questions, and that we're actually encouraging our family to ask questions. Now, if you are sitting around at your Pesach Seder eating matzah, but you have absolutely no idea why you're eating matzah, that's good. And you'll get a portion in the world to come for that as well. However, it would be even better if we actually understood and we knew why we were doing what we were doing. And that's, Hashem really wants us to do that. So, there's four sons that are actually mentioned in the Haggadah, the wise son and the wicked son. Now, when we talk about the wise son, we don't mean a guy who's got a really long beard and he knows the entire Torah by heart. We mean he's a little child and he's a good boy. And what's the question that he asks? The question that he asks is, what are the statutes and the testimonies that Hashem has commanded us. So if he's asking this question, why is he called the Chacham? Why is he called the wise one? And the answer is he's called the wise one simply because he's asking and he wants to know. And that is the theme of our relating to our children, to gain this knowledge. And that's a Jewish obligation that Hashem has put on us, to gain this knowledge of what it is that we're doing and why it is that we do it. And therefore the wise child asks, why is it that we're doing this? What is this all about? Whereas the wicked son asks, what is this service that you guys are doing? What's this avoda, make it seem like it's this laborious task that you are doing? He doesn't include himself. And therefore that's why he's the wicked one, because the wicked one is the one that says, not interested in any of this, not interested in knowing the secrets to my religion, the secrets to my relationship with Hashem, and why we are as one as a people. And therefore, the Pesach Seder is for us to all wisen up a little bit in here and to gain awareness and knowledge of what exactly it is that we're doing. And that is our responsibility as parents to give over, and it is our responsibility as children to ask our parents any other questions that we may not know. Which now brings us therefore to the matzah. Why do we eat matzah Pesach night? And there's many reasons. I'd like to just share a few with you if I may. One of the reasons that we eat matzah is because, as you may know, that as the Jewish people were trying to leave Egypt, there was not enough time for the matzah to turn into bread. It takes usually, as you mix any of the 5 grains together with liquid and then leaving it to bake for at least 18 minutes, or not even to bake, as long as it's mixed like that before it's baked for 18 minutes, eventually the dough will rise. And anything that is kosher for Pesach has these 5 grains that are mixed with this liquid, but has not been given those 18 minutes and it is baked beforehand. And so what is it called? Kosher Pesach as opposed to chametz. So what's the idea? That as our forefathers were leaving Egypt, they were kicked out in such a haste that the dough didn't have time to even rise, and the Jews left with it. So what's that matzah? That matzah is now a reminder for us that here the Jews were in Egypt for 210 years, or 400 years back from the beginning, but 210 years of slavery. And they were waiting and waiting and waiting for the day to come that they will be set free. And instantly it happened. And Paro himself got up in the middle of the night and said, Kumu tsumi teichami, get up and get after my nation. And he literally kicked them out. And what we see from there is that when Hashem wants and that time comes, then the king himself of the country that's enslaving us will get up and kick us out, because this is the time that Hashem wants. And so too, when Mashiach comes, we'll all be wondering, we're wondering what's going on. When's Mashiach coming? When are the Jewish people going to really be free and be able to serve Hashem? And the answer is that it's going to happen in a split second. And when we eat that matzah Pesach night, you should be thinking about that. Another idea you should be thinking of is that matzah reminds us of the suffering that we had as the Jewish people. We didn't have time to even bake bread. And the matzah serves as a reminder for us that we were slaves in Egypt. As we answer our children, we were slaves in Egypt. And the idea that all suffering and any mishap that somebody may undergo, which should never happen, is all for the purpose that the Jewish people knew that ultimately is the next world, and which is what we live for. Now the Jews that didn't leave Egypt and they died before they left Egypt, they didn't live for nothing. They didn't live for nothing just because they didn't see the Exodus. No, even while they were suffering, they were still living for a purpose, because they knew that the ultimate reward for them would be in the next world. And the little suffering that we have in this world, that'll pass by. Like some matzah, it doesn't taste as good, but even when it's not as good, we can still find some silver lining in the matzah as well, because after all, the matzah also tastes good. So it's not bread, but it's matzah, but the matzah itself reminds us of the suffering. And so those are just a few of the reminders of matzah, but it's to make sure that we gain awareness of what the matzah. By the way, one other thing, the matzah reminds us of the carbon mincha, the mincha offering that the Kohanim, only the Kohanim were able to eat. Only the high priests in the temple were able to eat. So when we are eating that, we should remember we're not just any people. We're like a mamlechas Kohanim. We are a kingdom of Kohanim. And we are all especially holy that night. We are all eating it. And therefore, it's a reminder that to Hashem, each and every one of us is really especially holy. So when we're eating the matzah, and when we're drinking the wine, and when you eat the karpas, and when you speak over the incredible wonders and the miracles that Hashem did for us, that is the purpose of that night, that you and I, that when we say it over, when we are eating the matzah, that we should gain awareness, which should constantly remind us and review these ideas in our mind. And that's how we stand out as a people. Because we ask questions, and we're not satisfied really until we get answers. So therefore, that is the message of Pesach. That is one of the messages, and I just want to wish you a sweet Pesach again. And if you have any questions that somebody may not know the answer to, you can certainly feel free to call me. If I don't know the answer, I will call and ask somebody else. Take care. Aziz and Pesach. Bye-bye.